Hey, everybody, and welcome back. I am here today with one of my good friends, and we're going to dive into one of the most practical and urgent leadership conversations schools can have right now, and that is mental fitness. We're in that stretch of year, and I know this because my mom was a teacher, my sisters were teachers, my brother in laws were teachers. I get it. And you're in this time of year where budgets are taking shape, staffing
Mhm.
pressures are real, and educator stress is quietly peaking behind the scenes. So there's a core question that needs to be asked. Are schools budgeting to prevent burnout or budgeting to clean up after it?
Mm.
So I'm joined by John Talbert, who works with schools across the country, helping leaders build mental fitness systems that protect culture, reduce turnover, and support educators before they hit a wall. And that is an important thing to note. It's before, it's not, it's proactive, not reactive. So
Mm.
before we jump in, give people the quick version of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, no, it's good to jump on this conversation, John, and I appreciate you taking the time to do that. The schools that I've been working with, literally schools across the country, and working with them on staff culture and burnout prevention, different things that go on, and recognizing that this is what educators face. I've been speaking and working with schools since I joined Forte 4.5 years ago, and it has become a main lane for us to serve as schools are facing this every year and facing teachers leaving education in droves, actually. So this is just a real timely subject for us right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you have quite a reach with what you do. So let's kind of set the scene. You've been literally inside schools all across the country. You get to speak at these places. What are you seeing right now as schools are heading into this very important budget season?
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you think about the budget season, because we just came off of Thanksgiving, and they've been advertising Christmas since Halloween, and so we get into this year-end rush. And when schools start in, whether it's in late August or early September, and you've got this 4-month stretch to the end of the year, and then you jump into the new year. But they'll do a budget cycle right now where they're making decisions about what the next budgetary items look like for the following school year, and they have to publish their budgets early February for families to make decisions about what they're going to do. And so they get into a rhythm of, okay, what do we need? What are the things? Oftentimes they're dealing with enrollment issues that affect the overall structure and budget of the school, and budget cuts, teachers leaving, salaries, different things like that. And so this is a weird season, on top of just educational nuances of what you have going on currently. Now you're adding in, let's lay out a vision and a budget for next year. Oh, and by the way, it's Christmas, and it's the year end. Here's all the things that we have to do. So it's a real high pressure, high stakes time frame for educators right now.
Yeah, and before we actually started recording, I told you that where I live, which is in Michigan, we just got 8 to 12 inches of snow. So there's a lot of that goes on across the country too, with school closings and all the stuff that goes on with that. Now I know in Michigan, we get dark winters, no sun, and it messes with our mental state, our mental health. And I know that is a mental health danger zone right now for educators as well. I know why here because I don't ever see the sun, but I am curious why this season between November and February is actually what I said, a mental health danger zone for educators.
Yeah. Yeah. When you think about it, even during daylight savings, we get to a certain point in time, and there's something about our rhythm that gets disrupted right after daylight savings, when that changes over right around end of October. And it really affects the emotional, mental, spiritual psyche of the individual. You don't think that it does, but we fall back, and so we get an extra hour. But it just is weird in that it messes with messes with your well-being, messes with your emotions. And we get into a mad rush. And I think what happens is teachers and educators fall into this. It's almost like, it feels like a kid that has been fed Fruit Loops in the morning and they're on this sugar rush. And then you're just like, by the end of the time, you're just like crashing. And then I think what happens to educators a lot of times during this kind of dark season is they are faced with things like, why do I do this? This has been a rhythm that's been hard for me.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that, grow into that season. And actually, what the other really hard, dark season is the stretch from January to the end of the school year. You've got some really dark months that are in there that you're like, this has been really hard. At least during the fall, you get some breaks with
Yep.
Thanksgiving or Christmas or stuff like that. But coming into the new year, you're facing a whole new thing. And so educators are budgeting for that, and they're looking at it and saying, okay, what do we need to support our staff? And I know we'll get into that a little bit, but traditionally that has been a very downstream effect to say, how do we respond to mental health crisis rather than what
Yep.
can we do that supports them upstream?
Yeah, it seems to be very reactive in the mental health world of like, we want to help fix you after you're broken.
Yeah.
And I was having a chat with one of our colleagues, Richard, the other day. Like, we don't want you to get broken. We want to help you become something. And there's a different approach out there that Forte is doing called mental fitness. And that's not a term that is really used much at all, especially in schools yet. So
Oh,
let's define maybe the difference between mental health and mental fitness. Most schools talk about that. How is your mental health? How are you doing? But we want you to talk about mental fitness. So what is the difference there?
yeah. And when you think of it, it's the easiest way is to correlate the metaphor into physical fitness and to
Mm,
recognize that we're asking educators to run a marathon with little to no training and rep
yeah.
prior to. There's some stuff that we'll do, in service stuff that happens right before. But when you think about the duration of a school year, an academic
Mm,
school year, there's a lot more of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual preparation that goes into that.
mhm,
Prior to waiting till you get to mile 5 and you're like, I'm dying here. And one
mhm,
of the ways I've described it is, instead of an upstream versus downstream, instead of building, having an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, why don't we build a guardrail at the top to keep
mhm.
people from actually falling? And
Yeah.
that has been a metaphor that I've used over and over again, where people get it. They're like, yeah, I think mental health, which is there's a lot of really positive, really helpful things within mental health, but when you look at it, it's really responding to the person that's already gone through a real, hard, traumatic, tough season. And we're saying mental health gets it to where we're like, hey, let's respond to that before we get to that place of a tough season, where we're prepared for it, or we're avoiding it because we have actually done the work, the health work prior to. And we recognize educators. Education is not a. It's not a nice to have. It's a must have thing for our society to function.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to lose teachers. We can't afford to lose them to another profession because they burned out so much and we
Mhm.
didn't take care of them along the way. So we feel like mental fitness for them prior to, during the year, things that give them actual physical, mental, emotional reps, if you will,
Mhm.
that keeps them strong and healthy when the hard seasons come. Yeah.
Yeah. And I worked in higher ed for a little bit before this job, about 2.5 years. And it was alarming to me how faculty would leave quickly and not really talk to anybody about it. And
Mm.
then the higher ups, the heads of the school were like, well, what happened? But there was never someone they could reach out to.
Mhm.
And I think that's another thing within mental fitness is this gives you an opportunity, specifically with our company Forte, where you have a coach who you can talk to who's not affiliated with your school and isn't like a close personal friend that you just vent to. It's someone who can help you process and help you get through that. And you mentioned the word downstream approach earlier. Mental
Hmm.
fitness is more of an upstream solution,
Yeah.
and maybe schools aren't budgeting for that yet. Maybe they're thinking in the wrong terms. Can you talk through that a little bit for us too?
Yeah, I think what we've done historically and what I've watched in education, as a kid being educated, then going through university and grad school and all the different things, watching that, we have things that uh, I would say a head of school or superintendent or a principal or the board would actually say, what can we do that says to our staff, we appreciate you?
Hmm.
And I liken it to Father's Day. I always think of Father's Day as the kids are like, oh, today's Father's Day? Is the gas station still open? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
that last minute thing. We're like, oh, okay, we got to get him a gift and write him a card. Just write it on this and we'll all sign
Right.
it.
Here's a
Um,
napkin.
yeah, here we go. And and I know I feel appreciated as a dad, as a father, but
Yeah.
I think for educators, there's things where we have an appreciation day, or we bring tacos into
Mhm.
the lounge, or we create they'll get the mug or the apple or whatever. Historically,
Mhm.
what is it? A student leaving an apple on the desk to say,
Right.
"We appreciate you." And I think what we've done is they're not, the educators are not high profile. They're not high paid. They didn't get into this to be an influencer. They didn't get in like an online
Right.
social media influencer. They didn't get into this for the money. They got into this because they felt an internal call for something.
Mhm.
And oftentimes it's an after the fact thing. And so budget, we have not thought of creative ways to respond to the needs that look and say, hey, we see you, we
Yeah.
recognize how valuable if we don't have teachers, we don't have anything, or like we're
Yeah. Yep.
out. Educators like superintendents, principals, heads of school are looking at their budget from a professional development aspect and saying,
Mhm.
um, this falls within mental fitness, but it also is developing the inner life and the professional life of the individual. You had mentioned earlier about the coaches. We have a system where every individual, every employee, from the head of school to the janitor, the bus driver, everybody and everyone in between,
Mhm.
has accessibility to their coach, who
Mhm.
serves almost as a counselor, coach, confidant, that they can
Right.
process what's going on and be able to speak to their journey and their profession and the work that they're doing, the hardship that they're having either at home or at work, or,
Mhm.
hey, I've got this, I need to bounce this off somebody. And that's professional development.
Yeah.
And every educator I know, every heads of school I know has a professional development budget that they can utilize that says, we want to personalize this for the individual so they have accessibility to their own coach in a really timely way. So that's the system that we've set up that works really well for educators.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too for the heads of schools, the principals, the superintendents, whoever it may be that's interested in this. This sets you up to look like the hero in your organization because it is proactive and it creates a culture where you've got good morale, you've got good retention because people are able to process what they are going through. And not
Yeah.
only that, it also sets you up to look good to the parents because healthy staff means healthy students.
Yeah.
And when we see that the teachers are still engaged and loving what they do, it impacts the students a lot too. And I recognize that as a parent when COVID hit the
Mm.
school system just was like, okay, now you're IT professionals as well to these teachers, do it all
Yeah.
online. And they didn't know what they were doing and it weighed heavily on them. And my daughter started to have anxiety about going to school when we came back because the teachers were just not happy and it was starting to overflow to a first grader. So we
Yeah.
see this correlation. So if you choose mental fitness, it's this proactive approach that helps the teachers, the
Mhm.
staff, but it also helps the students, which in turn impresses the parents and the
Yeah.
whole
It
school
impacts the
morale.
family. It does. Our theory of change is if you have healthy educators, you have healthy leaders, it impacts, because people will ask us, do you do this for students? I said, we don't think we need to if we've done it really well for educators. If the teachers are healthy and they're coming to the class on a weekday, week out basis, where they're like, I'm in love with my profession again. And I am working out of the best version of myself. Somebody has listened to me and understands exactly where I am. I don't have to stand in line or make an appointment to go somewhere and meet with somebody and hope my insurance kicks in. I can actually process this idea that I have, or this new kind of, here's a new thought that I want to bring to the class, or here's something that I'm struggling with at home that's really kind of affecting my work. And now I am bringing my whole self to the classroom, and it is impacting my kids. And if impacting the kids, you're impacting the parents. They're like, my kid loves coming to class, and that you're impacting the home. I mean, it systemically changes the whole game. And education needs that. Education needs something radically disruptive like this, because it is slowly eroding. Mental health is eroding what the classroom and the culture in schools look like. And if schools don't take a very serious, hard look at a professional development benefit that they can offer their staff, it's going to find you, and you're going to feel it. And so to be able to do that, and not just to correct a problem, but to really refine your culture to where you say, we prioritize our teachers, our educators. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and when you do that, it directly correlates to retention. When teachers are unhappy, they will leave. When they're
Right.
happy and they feel fulfilled, they will stay. And if you can create a culture like that, it's going to help you keep them, but it's also going to help you as an institution stay financially secure, because you're not constantly having to come up with new contracts and all that kind of stuff. So
Well, when you
can
think
you
about
talk
this,
about that a little bit?
well, you think about what teachers face. I could never be a teacher. I couldn't do it. I would get into the classroom. There's so much prep work beforehand, and then you're delivering. You're dealing with kids that some get it, some don't. Then you're dealing with parents, and some parents are hovering a little bit too much. You've got new curriculum ideas, and then you've got seasonal stuff that's going on, and then you've got anxiety because there's sometimes crazy things happen at schools around the country, and it throws every school into a little bit of an anxious moment. Like, wow, this could happen here. You've got nuances that are all over the place that affect teachers, and then all those things change, and you're not necessarily compensated like maybe you should be or could be. And I understand that schools have a limited budget. I get it. I'm not faulting them for it. They're doing their best, but the pressures that they face is unbelievable. To where there was one gal, her name's Maggie Perkins. She did a TikTok video that was entitled "Why I Left Education and Work at Costco." And it went viral. And then there's a whole bunch of other people that followed that same thing to like, I can go to Costco, make way more money, have way better benefits, and leave all those things at Costco. I don't have to. And so what you've done is you've left your calling, and it should never be that way. So going back to your question, sorry, ask the question once.
What's the connection between mental fitness and teacher retention? Why does that matter financially? Like, if you could sum that up in one sentence, so a CFO of a school could hear that, why does it matter?
Yeah, when you begin to ask yourself, what's it cost you to do nothing? Or when an educator has left, what did you have in your benefit stack that missed that piece? Mm-hmm. Because when you ask yourself what it costs to replace an educator, and I get it, people leave for all kinds of reasons, but if they left for something that actually was within your control, that you could have done something, how much does that actually cost you?
Yeah.
And when you begin to understand that from a budgetary standpoint, you begin to realize what is it that we're doing that actually is one, preventing more and more folks from leaving? What can we actually do that actually shores that up? And so when you do a cost analysis of the expense of transitional leadership and then transition in education, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up at all, actually. So that's the thing that I challenge when I challenge educators when I in conferences and speaking or whatever else. I'll ask the question: was how much money do you spend in a transition to bring a new teacher on? And when you look at what that is and ask yourself, what have we offered, and what would it cost for us to have that, retain that person? It's not that hard to show appreciation. It's not that expensive, actually, to show appreciation, to show, hey, we're investing in you as an individual. So
yeah. Okay, so that talks about the case for the why. Let's shift to the practical about how.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like when a school successfully integrates mental fitness into
Sure.
their budget and their calendar?
Yeah. What we have done at Forte is we have set up a system, say a school of, that got 100 employees from the head of school all the way down, is we'll offer that staff, they'll sign up, we'll do a launch strategy and we'll set it up, and we're very creative when some launch strategy works. Everybody in the school at the same time gets accessibility to a coach of their choice that they have all access to be able to meet at a time that's convenient for them, and we have that accessibility through an audio call that they've scheduled a time that's convenient, like I'm walking the dog, or I have a free period, or I'm on my drive home, and rather than me having to drive somewhere or jump on a Zoom call in front of my laptop, I'm able to actually make this call that's 30, 45, an hour in time, and then I can schedule the next one, later that week, following week, or whatever else. And everybody has accessibility to that individual. And we also have coaches that serve, when you think of it like a physical fitness coach, somebody that's actually asking the second and third question that takes you layers deep into motivation and fear and identity and stuff that helps you really anchor into what's actually really going on, and what are the opportunities. And they're giving you ideas of, what we would say mental fitness reps, like rest or journaling, or times where you're pausing and processing what's going on, and you're actually working through these things that actually build up that capacity to handle more of what's going on. So what we do is we launch that out. A school will launch that on a certain day. We usually give the couple key stakeholders in the school early access. We like to say the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. So as the head of school and executive administration staff is using it, so go the teachers. And some people that jump on board and they're like, okay, I get it. Then they get feedback. We don't record any of the calls, so it's just all done where it's in a confidential context. And then we have content that goes out to the individual, supports them and supports them in their mental fitness journey as well.
Yeah, and as a team at Forte, we're continually coming out with new things and adding new items to our app. And it's not just calls. That is a huge part of it. But like you said, we're adding mental fitness exercises and reps and continually researching, like, what else can we add? And we're really excited about that as well. But I can maybe put myself in the shoes of some leaders who are like, this is going to take too much. It's too hard for me to do. I'm already stretched thin. So how simple is this to launch? Because I can't add one more thing to my calendar, especially this time of year. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say that we knew that going into this. We recognized that we wanted to make it as easy as possible. We know that educators and heads of school and CFOs or whatever are swamped with so many other things that to add another layer to the HR, to whomever it is that oversees this, where it literally is that individual that uploads the emails into the system, on our back end of our platform, and then the information goes out. It's automated. It goes out to the individual. And as people maybe, new hires or people leave the company or whatever, or the organization or school, they, add and remove and that type of stuff. But we've made it as simple as possible for the individual. There's just a little bit of communication on the front end of, hey guys, we're launching this for you. It's real easy to use. I've been able to use it myself. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has an app. They know how to use that. And if you don't, you can use it from your desktop. Very simple to use. But we've made it very intuitive and a light lift for whoever it is that would be the point person or contact from the organization.
Yeah. And as the lead content creator, I help create some of that information. And we've even gotten to the point where we have suggested messaging for you. So it's literally copy and paste, change a couple things, send out that message if you want, or make it as personal as you want it to be as well. We really try to make it easy. We do our own email campaign to launch you as well. So you'll be getting information from us that we send to your team. We will give you suggested messaging that you can send to your team as well. So yeah, we do try to make it as easy as possible. But the second question that I'm sure is in the back of their mind is like, okay, well, how much? And that's always the question that's going to be there. So what size of investment should schools be thinking about, and what kind of return, because that is important, have you seen from this?
Sure. One of the things that we look at is, obviously it has an impact on the quantity of folks that are signing on to the platform. And, you've got employees, a large school of 300-400 employees. That's a different price point. But typically we have a, one-time startup fee that's usually just a small percentage of the, of the annual contract that we send out. But for somebody to look at what it costs to meet with a coach or a therapist or a doctor or someone that's going to walk you through this, you're spending, 150-ish, and that's pretty light. Some are even more expensive than that per session, and it's not even a full hour. It's usually about 50 minutes, and then they wrap up. Or you have something with your insurance benefits where they'll get 4 sessions, and then your insurance kicks in. Great. Yeah. This is unlimited accessibility. Even while they're off for the summer or off for vacation, they have accessibility to their Forte coach that they can meet with them every other week, every week, once a month when something comes up. Or somebody that doesn't meet with them at all, but they still get the content that we send, that they have agency to be part of their own wellness and mental fitness journey. And so we keep it in front of them rather than responding to them when something happens, which is a lot of what is out there currently for mental health. Mental fitness is like, hey, this is something to get in the rhythm of your life. And for under $150 per person for the year, that gives you a reference point of what things look like. Yeah.
So if I'm a head of school and I'm listening to what you're saying right now, and I think this is pretty great, and I'm interested in it for my school, what's the smartest next step that they can take before the budgets close, before February when rolls around?
Yeah, for educators, they can come to our website for sure at Get Forte, Get Forte, and you can see as Forte's on there in the background, getforte.com. And there's some information there. Or you can reach out to me directly, jon.talbert@getforte.com. And I'd be happy to meet with you and answer any questions, meet with board members or meet with your staff or whatever that looks like, online or in person if it's close by. I'm out in California. And we can talk through and process what that actually looks like for you and your team. Here's what I would say that I think is real important. It's at least worth a conversation to look at it and ask yourself the question, is there something that we can do differently that actually can change the game?
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing in schools that have adopted this and now have been with us for 3-4 years across the country, that they're saying this, we didn't realize how important this was to our team.
Yeah.
And so it's at least worth a conversation, worth exploring and seeing if that's a viable option for you, and looking at that within your budget this year.
So why is that conversation so important right now? Why are we making this video at this time of December heading into January and February?
Yeah. I think probably the most vital time is that everybody's making budgets for next year, and they're looking at their budgets. They'll need to publish those. They'll need to, project and forecast where they think their numbers will be, and some of the things that they currently have in their benefits and professional development line items. And this is something that you would enter into your budget at this time. One, because you're looking at it, and what we've seen too is people have recognized that this is important, and they'll actually, at a private school, talk to somebody that is adamant about teacher well-being and teacher health, and they, because of the price point, have been able to fund that separately. So there's all kinds of ways that we can creatively get you to the finish line. But we want to at least highlight how important it is for schools to recognize this in this time frame. Yeah,
that's great. All right, I'm going to challenge you. Give us your final 15 to 20 second message to leaders shaping 2025 budgets right now. I'm going to start the timer. I'm just kidding. But if you had one last thing to say to them, what would it be?
Oh, educators, we desperately need you. And in private education, you're making such a significant impact as a kid that grew up in private education and had teachers that were flourishing and teachers that were drowning. We cannot afford any more drowning teachers. There's ways that you can actually incorporate something that gives every teacher exactly what they need, is a person to process outside of the organization that has them teaching, speaking, learning, educating kids from the best version of themselves. And we want to share that with you. We know that it is making an impact in education today.
Awesome. I think that was more than 20 seconds, but we'll let it slide this time. All right. Well, thanks for joining me on this conversation. And if this sparks anything for you as you were listening, share it with another leader maybe who's in a budget season right now too. Or if you're a teacher, share it with your head of school. If you want to explore mental fitness for your staff before budgets lock in early February, reach out to John or go to getforte.com, and we would love to hear from you. We're looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you.